Hey, how's it going, everybody? So, I was thinking about making this, but I figure since this series has already been like finished already, like years from now, I figure I can give my perspective. So I actually start watching The Office. I've just been reading. I finally gave it a shot because I was just thinking to myself, man, what I'm watching this white people stuff, and I mean, you can people get mad about that, but I'm like, if you don't understand what it's like to be a minority, and I'm not saying that every black person will never watch The Office. I'm just saying from a different cultural context. I just wasn't really trying to watch The Office like that, you know. But I gave it a shot. And boy, oh boy, is it good. It's really good. This remind me of another thing where another dude who happens to be white, he had put me on this the regular show, and I was just like, I was when I first initially looked at it, I was just like, this is stupid. Why am I watching this? But then I watched it, and it was the formula that it had, where it's like is regular, and then it just kind of crescendos up to like some ridiculous stuff. It just made me so hooked on it because it was so it got to be so funny and so interesting to watch. So The Office reminds me of this series called Party Down, and I think what was that Stars HBO something like that, and it was my community style too, and but it wasn't like they have a scene and then they talk to the person. As far as I remember, I think it was just like they had a whole thing going on, like the scenes and the dialogues and stuff like that. With this one, um, if people already know this series has been long finished already, but um, the series has scenes in it, and they go back to a room and they give their inner thoughts. So I've gotten all the way to the beginning of season 3, and I found that to be so interesting. But I want to give a thought on this, and this is something that I've just had to. It's a very hard lesson. So there's this character in there by I know his full name. His full character name is Jim Halpert. He's supposed to be this cool dude. He's kind of like a everyman, every young man type deal. And then there's Pam Beasley, and she's kind of like the narrative love interest, but she's not. Um, and I think I want to speak. I also sorry. There's another main another character starring Michael Scott. He's Steve Carell, and I'm not even sure the rest of them. I'm not even gonna try. But near the end of season 2, so they have this culmination, and both of those two people, like both Michael Scott and Jim Halper, I'm just gonna short them to their first names. They both have this instance where they like these significant others. Michael Scott happens to be his superior. I forget her name. And Jim happens to be like the secretary. I think what the heck do they call it? Attendant, secretary, something something. I can't remember. But pretty much they like them, but they both got shot down for respective reasons. So if you already seen it, like the deal. If you watched all the seasons, then you know the deal. But I just wanted to explain my point, my new reaction, my reactions to it. So Michael Scott, um, him and his superior, they have a business lunch, and usually the narrative is that Michael Scott, Steve Carell's character, is typically like a buffoon. He's dumb. He's like incompetent. It's hard to really wrap your head around it. But you start to learn a few things about him, and it makes you learn as to why he's trying so hard to be this insane character. He has some weird instances of like some mild casual racism. I'm bringing it up. I know people are gonna get upset who like The Office in a predominantly white space because they don't really consider race like that, even though they should. But if it's not affecting you, it's out of sight, out of mind. But there's just some stuff that just comes off as just like he's the lovable idiot, or he's the person who's like he does things that are offensive that he need to be honestly checked on. But he's so lovable, it just kind of bypasses that, which I'm not really a fan of long term. Because that just teaches you could do things and there's just a gradient of offense. And then we wonder how we got to this state now because people just did things and they just weren't very considerate. about how that affected other people and that they treated that as mal. And then the people who got uh, uh, bullied in that sense, and that's slightly a form of bullying because they make fun of your characteristics based on things you can't control. And just model minority for like the Asian communities. You know, sorry, the equivalent of black sheep and narcissistic relationships. There's like golden child, which is the idealized member of the family system, and then there's the black sheep. There's like the opposite. So, but my point is just like those are mild and is used for comedic effect, but it's still not good. But my point, besides that, I'm sorry if people just decided to click off after hearing that, because I know people tend to do that because they just don't want to hear race as involved with their favorite media pastime. But I wanted to just put that out there. I'm going to move on. So they have these dynamics, and Michael Scott's character is just they go on his business lunch, and then you see why he's the manager. So you see how they eat, and there's this other guy. I guess he owns another company, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to like get this merger going or something like that. And the superior, she's kind of really, she takes it seriously. She's like, okay, we gotta make this happen. We're gonna do like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now for him, he's like, hold up. Let me do it my way. And then she's like, you're gonna ruin it. And similarly enough, we're thinking the same thing. He's gonna ruin it. Somebody stop this man. But funny enough, you learn that he's actually a good businessman. He's actually a good negotiator. So he essentially wine and dine this guy. They eat, and then he gives him a good speech about like, essentially our company gives you a good time essentially, and that like, we're real people, something along those lines, and that we're a good reason as to why you should choose us instead of the other guys. And then he gets the deal. So it was almost like just so interesting because they didn't. It's like as they say, show don't tell. So it wasn't like he told you I'm actually a good businessman in reality, but they do that such a genius subversion where they lead you on into thinking, yo, this guy is real incompetent. How did he get this job? And then it is like, oh shoot, this is how he got his job. He's actually really good at his job. Despite our misconceived notions and what we've been set up. It's like comedy. You get set up for a punchline, and it subverts your expectations. So after that, Michael Scott, he after they get the deal, they're happy, and I guess they're drunk, and then he goes in, he makes his move, he gives her a kiss and stuff like that. And after that, he's just pretty much head over heels for her, and she's just like, nah. And later on, you learn that you learned before that she just got divorced. So, he's just like, whoa. Now, mind you, he's been single. I don't know how long he's been single, but he's been single. But it's weird because he know how to put the moves when it's necessary. So it's just like, what else has he done? What else? What is the subtext for his life? But yeah, he does his thing, and he has this expectation. It's like, yo, we're together and stuff like that, and she's just like, don't get it twisted, don't get the wrong idea, we're not really together. Now it does a long back and forth to the point where he finally gets it, but at the same time she's still kind of like, you later learn that she's kind of conflicted, and then he does nice things for her. So it shows again like the lovable idiot type deal. Like he really cares. He's really a nice guy and all that stuff like that. And so those things really affect her. Those things really matter to her. But you can't wait on people forever. So as you learn Michael Scott's character, he eventually just tries to move on. And he still tries to be a nice person. He still tries to get a chance, but at the end, at the last episode of season 2, he tries to invite her. She's like, nah. And he's like, okay, let me try this other lady. Cause he just ran into this, I guess his realtor. And I guess she has kids and stuff like that. And, it's funny how it worked out because it was like, sorry, it's funny. The in-betweens, it was so funny. Cause Pam, I guess the secretary, he says something and she don't put him through until like the second time. Cause she like kind of get the goofiness out of him, and then she'll put him through the second time, and he's like, "Oh, hey," so it's just funny to me. So so he gets the realtor because they're having this casino party type deal. They get this casino going. It's like a company party. Now Michael Scott's already under the impression that this is his superior, this lady he used to like. Denied his offer to just come back, hang around, because he at this point is like sort of kind of valid, he understands that maybe it's not just gonna work out, and that was due to her just denying him, like, okay, well, let me try somebody else. So he tries a realtor. She was cool with it, and then suddenly the superior, his boss, calls back and say, actually, you're right, I'm actually gonna make my way over there. Bam. And then you have a little love triangle. Now that was interesting. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. And then you learn from Jim Halpert, he's just a regular worker bee at this sales company. You learn that his love interest, Pam Beasley, the secretary, she is she's been engaged with this dude for several years. And so Jim and Pam are like friends. They're like good friends, like almost best friends. But you learn he gets feelings for her, and that leaks around the office. He tries to make his feelings just not a thing, after it leaks out, even though he clearly still cares. He clearly still has romantic feelings for her. So what happens after that is man, it's just so much going on in there, and it's so good. It's so narratively good. And that's one reason why it also reminded me of Party Down, because it Party Down was a mockumentary style series, and the writing was just good too. Like, you could just tell that the dialogue and all that stuff was just good. But the Office, man, it is a reason why people like The Office. Is funny, and is really good. It's just like how people intermingle and stuff like that. Now, do I really care so much about crap, what's her name? I don't know. Kelly? Melinda? But nope. Melinda something. I forget. Kelly? I forget. She's one of the side characters, but she's like this flighty lady, flighty girl. And is another dude. I know his name because it's just interesting. Is BJ Novak. And he's like a new guy, and he's just seems like they have this thing in the office. I've noticed as I'm watching it, they had this look that's like them exploding on the inside, just like internally dying, like, and it'll just you know like they have a moment after each, like some of these jokes that'll like Mango Scott's doing something crazy, and then they just like they're internally exploding. It's just they have that look. It's just funny to me. I don't know why I mentioned that. Because I see it on his face quite often when Michael Scott interacts with him. He's just like exploding on the inside, like, like I will leave as soon as I get the opportunity. But I only say that because they both this flighty lady and this new guy, he wants to have a fling, and she wants to do quite the opposite. She wants to go commit all the way in. And it's so interesting because he's such a dry character, and she is such the opposite. But he really don't want to be around her like that. Like he don't want to commit to her like that. And I find their relationship pretty interesting. Okay, I think here, while I'm like writing listing them off, sorry, let me get back to it. So so even though Jim has these feelings for this lady, secretary lady Pam, she just, she's committed. So the thing I thought about was just like, one thing I learned is that it's the idea of unrequited love. And I say that just as a person who's experienced it, And a person who just acknowledges that is real. It's real and it's real tough. And this is something that I low key have a small issue with, because in movies it almost feels like they give people an entitlement to people's feelings. And this is what one of the reasons why I say this. So Jim already knows, everybody actually already knows that Pam is getting married by this dude, or her husband. I forget her name. I mean, sorry, fiance. I forget his name. Um, and they all know, and then they learn that Jim actually has a thing for her. So he has romance. And the thing is just that he's moving. He's gonna transfer. He learns that, like, yo, there's no way, like, like for some reason, like, it was almost like he was holding out hope, and like it kind of makes sense as to why he wanted to hold out hope, because she's been they've been engaged for a long time. So it's like, is it happening? And then if they finally make an announcement, I guess the fiance says, hey, we're gonna get married pretty soon. So for him, he's like, there's not really a chance now. There's not really a chance I can win her back. But my question is, and this is just a big boy hard lesson, is that why? Because you learn later on that he tries to move on with another girl, and you get some weird tension between Pam and, like at first she's happy for him, and then you learn she gets like a little, like, oddly jealous, and I'm like, you already have somebody, what's the what? And then you learn, and this is something I find so interesting, is that, like, all the characters, they have a moment when they're interacting with each other, and then they have a moment with, like, essentially like us, essentially. But the interesting part is that you don't really get Pam's side of the story until you hear her talking to her mom. And you learn, like, she really loves her mom. And then you learn that when she's talking to her mom, her feelings about Jim come out. You learn that. And she only talks to her mom like twice throughout those 2 seasons. And it's really telling. It's really interesting. I thought that was so genius. And so you learn, like, during this thing that's happening, Jim is like, he's doing his thing, and the fiance's there, and he's doing this thing, and he just learned, like, yo, I can't win here. And this is my big boy lesson, is that you're not really entitled to your feelings. And this is something I have to say really with anything, any sexuality, any whatever. You're not entitled to your feelings. And this is a great example from a heterosexual perspective, is that you're not entitled to your feelings. You're not entitled to your feelings. Just because there's this girl you really like, and you guys hang out a lot, and you guys seem like you're doing pretty decent, and she chose another person. And that's just something that is a hard lesson. I've experienced unrequited love. It's a hard lesson. But the thing in the series, and again, I thought about this and I was like, okay, well, it's not so good that it gratifies the viewer into believing that unrequited love will be validated or gratified or respected. It might not. That's just a harsh reality. It might not. You might feel for people. I felt for people, for many people, and it just didn't work out. Sometimes it don't. Sometimes it don't. And so, later during that episode, so the boss lady came over and realized, like, now Michael Scott's trying to be, he's surprisingly trying to be, like, very, like, peaceable in a situation and make things worse. And he's awkward about it. He reminds me of myself, because I'm awkward about it. And just like him, I don't have much dating experience. And I'm awkward myself, just like him, which is pretty funny. But he's just like, he didn't want to make a big spat about it, even though, he just didn't want to make a big spat about it. I thought that was the most sensible reason, surprisingly. And now for her, she was like, oh, it's not really a big deal. But you learn it kind of is a big deal for his superior. And that she actually, and I thought that was so funny. So one of the characters, his name Rainn Wilson. Only reason why I remember that because his first name is pretty dope. And he plays the character Dwight. Now, if you know The Office, you know Dwight. And he's just this uptight, butt kisser type person. And he is like, if you see Agresco, he's like that Weasel character, only a bit more likable. Sorry, a bit more likable. Um, which I kind of wish they fleshed his character out a bit more. But for Dwight, he's boy oh boy, he's funny, and he's not funny in like, well, I read. There's so much to talk about. So for one instance, the dude, I'm sorry, this is 20 minutes in. The dude got a concussion from driving, and then the day after that, he never gets himself checked out. And I guess he was trying to get something for his boss, Michael Scott, and he never goes to the hospital. So and then you learn like he's acting kind of funny. He's being funny. He's being goofy. He's being overly emotional. He's pretty much not being himself because usually he's serious, very uptight, very serious, strong-willed, tough as nails. But he's just not the coolest ice cube in the ice box. Let's just say something along those lines. But yeah, that's where his status is. And you learn because he can be very like you can press people for answers a little too much. You can ask people too many questions. Another aspect of myself, I get too curious, and I say things inappropriately sometimes. But for him, he does it, and it's narratively so genius because you learn. He says, "Hey, where you staying? You staying at a hotel? You staying at this, staying at this, staying at that." And at first, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, okay, he's just kind of prying too much, like he usually does. But then I learned, like, oh shoot, she was actually planning on staying the night at Michael's place. So I was just like, wow, that's surprise. It hit me like maybe a second after he said after like the camera zoomed in on her because it was like the camera does so much and it doesn't even say anything, but it tells you so much information. Like for instance, if somebody say something and it's not supposed to bother you, but then they zoom it, then it's like pay attention to this person. Then it's like there's something about this person I'm supposed to pay attention to for some reason because the camera is just very honed in on this person. And I think that's so genius because it just it tells you so much. It what's it? Show don't tell. So it shows you a lot. It don't tell you a lot, but it shows you so much unspoken communication. I just still think it's genius. And so you learn, oh dang, she's actually trying to spend a night at this dude's house. Like she wasn't trying to be standoffish. I mean, she kind of is, but she kind of ain't now. But yeah, so at the end, I'm sorry, after, and I guess again, he's talking to the lady who's a realtor. Now she took it as a date. He was supposed to sort of take it as a date, and she just he kind of put everything out there in the open, which as awkward as that is, it just that really cleared the air. He was like he really made his intent. Like I wasn't really trying to hurt you guys. I'm not trying to treat you guys hurt you guys on purpose, and that just really cleared the air. And knowing that Michael Scott picked the other lady over his boss, got her feeling some type of way. Let's just say that got her feeling some type of way. So essentially, as the stories converge between the two love interests, between this love triangle and this, I guess another love triangle. That's pretty dope. It's like a love hexagon almost, or something, quadrihedron. But you learn like they Jim has the thing for Pam, even though she's with another dude, and then you learn like the boss lady who got rejected. She tells Jim, and ironically, they both they both are people with unrequited love, essentially. But she's like, "Yo, you got to tell him because you're going to be transferring pretty soon. Like, have you thought about it? Because he's trying to cash in his chips and leave because he don't believe that he has a chance with it anymore. So she's like, you got to tell somebody. You have to tell somebody because it won't be I don't know if it's going to be a good look, but it's like it's only appropriate. So he finally goes to tell him, and again, what's our narrative expectation? Our narrative expectation is that the fiance is about to leave, and she's all right, I'll see you later. And again, Jim's like right there. He's like right behind him, and the dude's like, hey, take care of my girl. He's like, yeah, sure thing. And then he bails. The fiance bails, and she says bye, honey, and all that good stuff, or something like that. And so you think, okay, he's gonna just kind of break the news to her and say like yo, Yeah, I'm sorry I'm leaving. But I'm glad he didn't do that, because if he would have said that and would have been like, I gotta tell you, I got feelings for you, it would have been painted a little weird, because it would have shown Jim as like this. It would have shown him almost using his friendship as hostage, instead of saying like just telling her flat out, And I thought that was very genius of them to say that, for him to just reveal his feelings, then tell her, "Hey, I'm leaving. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. Oh, also, I have a thing for you." So, like, no, like my feelings never stopped. So at that point, you know, she's in a relationship already, so she's like, "Yo, I don't really know what to say. We're not really, we friends and all that." So, that's kind of the big boy lesson that I wanted to say, is like, it should have really ended there. Honestly, it should have ended there. Like, but again, narratively, I seen like it's like a total of 9 seasons. It might be more, I don't know, but a total of 9 seasons. So I'm like, there's got to be more here. They can't just cut this off. As far as I know, they can't just cut it off. And I seen an episode at the very, not an episode, but like somebody's narration of like what happened to some of the characters, and I didn't really see like what happened to both of them. I don't know for certain, but at this point in time of season 2, um, she's like, dang, that this, you know, I never understood when people say when they're confused, what are you doing? I never understood that. I had somebody tell me that once, and I was trying to give the gospel at that point. I was, Christian, all that. Still a Christian, but I tried to tell somebody, and they was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What is what I'm doing? What I'm doing is what I'm doing." So I've never understood when people make their reply. But she was like, "Well, what are you doing? And what do you want me to say?" And she's kind of like essentially telling them like, "Yo, like, uh, maybe this is how you feel." And she's like, "I don't want to ruin his friendship." And he's like, and he tells her, and I think this is sort of on a good end. Sorry, I got distracted. Sort of on a good end, that he says he doesn't just want to be friends, because I think when you do say tell your intent, you should kind of go there too, because you can't backpedal now. You just can't backpedal. When you tell me your feelings, it's great that this friendship is great, but if you feel more, then you feel more. There's no I can backpedal whatever I've been feeling. It's more so just like, this is hard. I'm sorry. I feel this. I This is just how it is, and I don't want to just be friends. So and I'm like, but the big boy lesson about this is just like, sometimes it just ends there. Sometimes things just end there. Your feelings don't get gratified. Your feelings don't get given in return. You just got unrequited love. And I think that's just a big thing that I wish that happened. Again, this is for narrative effects, so it's going to continue. I'm going to give a very decent guess about it, is that Pam is going to have to figure her feelings, because I guarantee you that the fiance is going to come back, and he's going to be like, "Hey, babe, give her a kiss." And then for some reason, for some unknown reason, he's going to like really think about how he's been treating her, and he'll treat her better. So she'll have to, and then he's going to be like, Jim's going to be like, "Oh, I still, dang, I feel this, but I feel bad." And then, so he might apologize, and she might be like, "Yeah, but I kind of sort of feel the same way." But this is part of what I mean about Pam and her mom, that dialogue, because it's like, Pam doesn't really speak a lot when she's talking in first person, or speaking in second, or speaking to the audience. Let's just say that she doesn't really give her heart. She doesn't give her perspective in relation to Jim. She only does that when she's talking to her mom. Again, that's why I think that whatever that narrative device is just interesting. It's so cool to me. And so I'm pretty sure she's not going to talk to her mom as much, but again, it's going to be a good narrative device to show how she's truly feeling. So I'm pretty sure it's just going to be like, he can't control his feelings, but he's a sensible person. So, he's going to maybe apologize, and then later tell her that he is going to move. He is planning to kind of skip town, and then she might get offended by his revelation. Like, she'll piece it together, and she'll be like, "Man, that's kind of jacked up that you just threw this in my face and you finna leave." And, And if you're gonna leave because I don't like you like that, then that's kind of crazy. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, for me, from my perspective as a dude perspective, I get it. But as my learned perspective, again, you don't, a woman is not obligated to receive your feelings in the same way. And this is something I had to learn. If a woman that, if you know, let's say for myself, a woman tried to talk to me, right, and we were cool, but I didn't really view her like that. I didn't view her so like I could see myself with her long term. But we were cool, you know, we cool out here. And let's say, I guess I haven't done this. Let's just say that I'm gonna just I'm like, I don't personally care, but I don't like the social implications of it. But for me and my perspective is that, like, let's say a dude was sleeping with his woman and she's with him and she has gotten the wrong idea that she wants to kind of spend the rest of her life, but he doesn't. And so he has to say, hey, we just doing this thing, you know. And she gets the wrong idea. I think similarly, we can view that narrative in this instance of like of unrequited love, where it's like um, the dude, like just like in my first example, where the dude he has only one he got one destination and she has another. In the same way, just because a dude gives this woman his feelings, doesn't mean she has to accept them. And I'm not saying that like unrequited love don't hurt. It does. It does. But just because you feel something for your friend doesn't mean if you tell her that she's gonna be like, yeah, I guess you're right. You know, we're like love is dating and all that good stuff. Maybe it's just something for the day, but it's confusing, you know. But sometimes it be like that. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you're friends with somebody and they just don't feel for you like that. You know, sometimes you're good friends with somebody, you can see yourself long term with them, but they don't feel you like that. You know, and sometimes you just feel like, yo, I'm gonna find this, like I might leave, you know, I don't see any way, but I might as well just throw it out there just to see. And she might not feel the same way, you know. And you just gotta take that L and move on, you know. And sometimes your feelings are validated, sometimes they're not, you know. But I just want that big boy lesson to be learned, because it's just like sometimes you feel so strongly, but that person doesn't share that same feeling. And one thing I've seen in this series is that he can move in to kiss her, and it goes somewhere else, you know, moves to a different scenario, to another scene, and it goes back, and when again, you know, she's talking to her mom, Pam's talking to her mom, and then he moves in. He kind of does a slow thing where he kind of just kind of moves kind of she's in the office now, and he moves inside this office, and then he moves in for a kiss, and that's the end of the season. Now again, there's a bunch of stuff that happens in the last episode of season 2, but it's still telling to me because um it's telling us that maybe she has feelings for Jim, because you seen in the first time she talked to her mom on the phone. Sorry. And I'm not talking about the time where her mom actually came to the office. I'm talking about the times on the phone. So when she talks to him on the phone, when she talks to her mom on the phone, they mention Jim. They don't mention her. I think she mentions her fiance, but she doesn't really mention her fiance like she mentions Jim to her mom. And so, and she says she's got a strong connection with her mom. So it's like she's telling her mom, then that's kind of there's information to take stock in. And so you learn just a little bit from like her talk from the last episode, and she's just like, you know, something about Jim, something about feelings, something about how she feels and stuff. And then he sees her again, and he moves in for another kiss, and they kiss and all that. And then it's just interesting because it ends, you know. So the third season will have to figure out where are they now, where is their feelings, and I guarantee you she's gonna have to wrestle with that and figure out what she's interested in. I guarantee you she's still with her fiance, and she has to wrestle with that, and he has to wrestle with that, knowing that she's still with the dude. And that's part of my point, is that like, yo, just because you feel strongly about somebody, and again, I'm sorry, I am so sorry, because I wish that movie magic was right. I wish whenever you say, again, sorry, this is just my selfish man opinion. I'm sorry. Sometimes I wish if you feel a certain way type about about a woman that those feelings are returned, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is not, and it hurts like heck, bro. It hurts like hell, bro. Um, and sometimes when you just even if y'all cool, and I'm not saying cool like friends with benefits cool. I'm talking about like just you guys enjoy each other's company. You guys have so much fun together. But sometimes you kind of get friend zoned, and I get it. I'm sorry, like I haven't watched Friends, so and I get that's where the origin of friend zone is. So I don't know the context of that. I just, you know, I know I don't know. There's so much I could take that in. So many directions I could take that in. But what my point is, just like sometimes you hang with somebody and they all they got for you is friendship. That's all they got. They can't give you more than what they don't have. So all they got is friendship. And just because you like them or you want to spend more time with them, I encourage you to move on. I encourage you to move on. Because there's a good chance your feelings won't be received. And I'm not saying that to be mean about it. I'm not saying that to be mean to the women. I'm just saying people feel what they feel, and sometimes they won't always share your feelings. So just a big boy lesson, I guess that maybe that's all I want to say is just like, yo, sometimes you don't get the girl, you don't kiss her and she takes your feelings in. Sometimes you'll lean in for a kiss and she'll push away and say, dang, what are you doing? And it's awkward and it hurt and you're in pain. I'm not saying that happened to me. I'm just saying just the worst case scenario that you can imagine for yourself might just happen. Sometimes that movie magic don't work, and this is why I don't really like romance movies like that, because they always give you some sort of sense of entitlement for feelings, and regardless of whether you're a male or female, they give you entitlement to feelings. And I'm like for instance, I'm like for instance, Lifetime movies. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go for it. Sometimes Lifetime movies sometimes they just won't work out. They just like feel good stuff. I'm sorry. Just sometimes these romance movies won't work. But I got hope. I'm sorry. I'm just a dude who wants to look at things at a better angle so you can teach you to be a better person, Sometimes that movie magic don't work. Sometimes the Christmas spirit don't enchant somebody to like you. Sometimes the mistletoe's in the air and somebody don't lean in to kiss you. Sometimes that person you hang with and you super chill with, super cool with, and you like them, they not gonna like you back. At least the way you want them to. Sometimes the woman has been engaged for like 3-4 years and they finally get married. It's just like with like the series of 500 Days of Summer or 300 Days of Summer, where the dude is with her and in his mind, like movie magic is happening. And even if they sleep around or something like that, she's still marrying that dude. So, and he feeling bad, like, yo, man, I can't believe it. Now, mind you, I'm not even gonna go there. It's just good to know. It's just good to know, like, yo, just to be a bit more humble about that perspective, we want love so bad. Just not just men, but women too. We want love so bad, and when we get unrequited love, love that's not given back to us, it hurts. And I just want people to just know, like, yeah, I believe you're gonna find love. I'm not with nobody right now, but I just want people to know, like, yo, you're gonna find love. I don't know who that love is. I don't know. But just know that if somebody just isn't giving it to you, you're not entitled. I am so sorry. But you are not entitled. You're not entitled to your feelings. You're not entitled to have your feelings be gratified by somebody who might be up in the air or might not be interested. Like, for instance, Michael Scott's character Learn. And ironically, like, his path was a bit better because he tried, and I'm not saying all of the stuff he did was right, but like he tried, it happened on accident and he moved on. And I'm like, I encourage people for like who's going through like unrequited love or they like somebody and this person is really isn't giving them a clear answer like that. And you finally go ahead and shoot your shot and she, knock it down. Don't try not to put that hurt on her. Just try to be respectful, be nice about it. But just know you hurt. And I'm not gonna front. It's okay, man. You hurt. Or female, you hurt. It's okay. You hurt. No, none of this. We gonna dog the man out for not receiving your feelings. We gonna dog the woman out for not receiving your feelings. It just hurts. It just hurts. It's okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay. You will find somebody. It just won't be this person, unfortunately. But yeah, and just like Michael Scott's character, you gotta move on, man. You gotta move on. And just like with the lady, the first lady, like who's his superior's boss, she took too long to try to come back, to figure out her feelings. And again, there's no, like, he did that on accident. You know, had this been something that, like, it happens. That's why it's so genius, because I can see this stuff happening before. You see this stuff happening. Sometimes she don't call. I mean, sometimes she calls, she say no. She gets like second ideas or something like that. And then she tries to call, and he finally realizes, oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm cool, man. Sometimes if you drag your feet, you won't always get the dude. Her reality is just as probable as his reality. Sorry, his boss's reality is just as probable as the reality I'm speaking about. Like, sometimes you don't get the person, the spouse who might be looking out for you like that, romantically. Sometimes you take too long. Sometimes they say no. Sometimes the worst scenario might happen. I'm not saying like the very worst scenario, but sometimes with your romantic aspirations, they don't get fulfilled in the way you wanted to sometimes. Sometimes. Okay, guys. Is there anything else I want to say? So I'm thinking Dwight and this other lady. I think her name's Susan. They are both uptight, and I never really liked that perspective that they pair people together that are like very similar. But yeah, they're very they're they're just, I don't know. They're just two uptight people, and for some reason they're together. And I don't necessarily. I guess I'm speaking from experience. I'm projecting because I'm like, sometimes will pit two nerdy people together. Yeah, you guys look good together. I'm like, what if I don't know her? What if I don't like her? And if, again, as a black person, you've been in predominantly white spaces. I've had it where they pair me with a black woman, and this woman was like much older than me, and it was like, I don't really know her like that, and it was just like, but yeah, it's just like, it's just weird sometimes, that pairing situation. So I'm glad for Mindy Kaling. Her character, I think her name Kelly something. She paired with like BJ Novak's character. At least the dynamics, and I thought that was pretty cool because they didn't just like, hey, grab an Indian character, they'll be fine, because that's not how love works. Then people not gonna just be with somebody because they're the same race. That's kind of stupid to me, especially conflicting with this whole everybody bleeds red narrative that those same people spout. But that's besides the point. I think that's it. I think if I have another narrative about it, it might be talking more about it. Like, yeah, there's so much you could discuss in the office. So, that's it, y'all. Super long. Sorry. All right, guys. See ya. Bye.